Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hingham School Committee meeting of October 21st, 2019. I heard rumor that there is some important sporting event tonight, and I've been asked to speak faster than usual. So we will start. We'll see what we can do. I believe Carlos will be joining us shortly. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and televised by Harbor Media. If anyone intends to audio or video record this meeting, could you please let me know now? All right, seeing none, thank you. Our first order of business is approval of minutes. We have a few minutes to approve. Would someone like to make a motion for approving?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the school committee coffee and conversation held on October 15th, 2019.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Libby. Any questions, discussion, comments? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's approved. Thank you. Next, minutes of the school committee held on the 15th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the school committee meeting held on October 15th, 2019.
Second? Thank you. Any discussion, comments, questions on that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. And Carrie, you want to make one more?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the school committee coffee and conversation held on October 17th, 2019.
Libby, will you do the honors? Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. All right, item 3 on the agenda is questions and comments. The Hingham School Committee encourages community engagement, and we welcome questions and comments as agenda items are discussed during our meeting. In addition, we have 15 minutes at the beginning of this meeting for comments or questions that fall under our purview but are not already on tonight's agenda. Is anyone here interested in speaking to anything not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, then we will move on to Superintendent's report.
The superintendent's report is really about just the school presentations tonight, so I'll skip that.
Okay.
Everything specific.
All right. Communications, any communications received by the superintendent?
I do. I just want to, in your packets tonight, you have the facilities department report for September and October. Just a quick couple of highlights without going over each of these. The installation of a 700 by 4-foot fence is now complete at East Elementary. The South Elementary heating system, pump and motor system has been completely rebuilt, so we should be up and ready to go. And the MSBA senior study visit for the Foster Elementary was conducted and went well. In October, many projects are planned, including the high school public announcement system will be upgraded under the capital budget. We have solar-powered scoreboard to be installed at the high school girls varsity softball field, and we're beginning our initial design of the PRS vestibule for project to be developed by Habib Associates under the capital project as well. So those are the highlights of that, but please, there are a few more items. Take a look at that. If you have any questions, let me know.
All right.
And that's my only communications.
Great, thank you. Can do. 5.2 are student communications, but I don't see Emma here, so I'm guessing we do not have a report. Although I do know the high school had a great homecoming despite the wet weather. Item 5.3, other communications. Anyone else have any communications? No? All right. Item 6, unfinished business. So item 6.1 is to discuss the proposed fiscal year 21 budget guidelines and act as appropriate. So those are in everyone's packet. John, put these together for us again. Thank you.
Yeah, we took a look at these, or we put these in the packet last time. On the document in your packet, it just shows some underlined versions. They're very similar to what we had last year, but there's a few new, well, they're not new considerations, but ones that I thought were mentioned, we should mention, such as general ed supports in addition to special ed supports. And, you know, changing the item 7 was a little bit uncertain as to what the meaning there was, so change that to identify the approaches to acquiring, managing, and maintaining educational facilities and transportation resources. So basically what that means is we'd look for any operational efficiencies we can in any one of those areas, and then we'd present a recommendation during the budget period to the committee so that we'd show you the economics of what we believe might happen if the plan were to take place. So just it's basically a statement that says we're always looking at that stuff, because we are, so. But very similar to last year, unless the committee has, additional guidelines that we think we should be adopting. I think, with those minor modifications, I think it's a realistic view of what our guidelines should be in creating the fiscal '21 budget.
Any comments or questions for John on the guiding principles for this year's budget? No? Everyone good? All right, great. We need to adopt these, yes?
Yes, please.
Formally. So do we want a motion to
I'll make
adopt
a
these?
motion to approve the guiding principles for the development of the fiscal year 2021 school committee adopted budgets.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Libby. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. All right.
Thank you very much.
Adopted. Thank you. Item 6.2 is to discuss a proposed revision of Hingham Public Schools Policy 3.7.5, public involvement, and to act as appropriate. That is also in your packets. Thank you, Policy, for drafting this, and Dr. Jamie for your work on this as well. I know you were working with council on helping develop some of this language in here, so appreciate that. Thank you. And I apologize, is this a first reading, or are we second reading? Okay. Third, okay, because we had a couple of things. Do you want to give us any background, or?
No, it's like you said, it's like the third time going through it, and it just changed the public speak part of it to clarify it on the advice of counsel. The one thing we did discuss last time and kind of added into this draft is it says school committee business meetings will be televised for greater public access to the extent the resources allow. Adding the word business to business meetings just changes it. It gives us a little flexibility if we want to do a workshop or something like that. So that won't.
Or go out to a school.
Yes,
something
exactly,
so we may
yep.
not be able to televise it.
Yep.
Okay, that's great, thank you. And Liza?
There's one other thing, Libby just caught it, in the first paragraph, in the second sentence, it says, the school department website, school committee page on the town website, and the availability of a school committee email account are other resources for public information. So we should probably change it to, and the availability of school committee member email accounts. Because we used to have
Yes.
just one single email, so
Right,
I'd propose that change.
okay.
No, I know. Like-
All right, do we have to go back and redo it and bring it back, or could we vote on it as is with that?
No, I think we
Change?
can vote on
Yeah.
it with that
Okay.
change.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Any other points? Yes, Dr.
Um,
Wright?
When I read this, third time, if you look at the fourth paragraph, the second bullet point, all speakers are encouraged to present their remarks in a respectful manner. I'm not comfortable with the term encouraged. I think there's no leeway for presenting remarks in a respectful manner. And either you are or you aren't.
Proposing to change that to must.
No, I would just simply say, I would delete the word encouraged and make the proper sentence. All speakers are to present their remarks in a respectful manner.
My only thought is, which I agree with what you're saying, I don't know if that had any legal
Yeah.
implications to it, that if someone wants to stand up and be disrespectful, I believe
Yeah.
that under free speech, they can be.
They can do it, yeah.
We ask them to be respectful, but I don't think we can require them to be respectful. And then I
Really?
think you may also get into, yes, and then I think you also may get into define respectful.
Right.
Right, what's disrespectful to me may be perfectly respectful to you. I think that's the, okay. Yep.
The protection of the public's right to the First Amendment free speech rights. And as a public body, you absorb their comments, and regardless of the tone or intent.
As to, to Ed's point, though, are we expecting that 2 and 3 refer specifically to the public comment period, or that they are to any time a person speaks? I mean, it is any time a person speaks.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
okay.
I think so, because it does say, for anyone who wishes to be heard.
But if, Ed,
Can.
if it's an agenda item, the chair can gavel them out of order for disrupting or speaking out of line on if they do speak disrespectfully on a specific agenda item. It's in the public comment where it's kind of open season, unfortunately, but
You can't censor anyone based on what they're saying, the content of what they're saying. So if they do it in that manner, then you can't. But there is a time limit, so they can go for whatever. But you can't say, I don't like what you're saying or how you're saying it. That's where the First Amendment comes in.
even on an agenda item too.
If we're going to open it up
I
to,
think-
if we're opening it up to public comment, then we can't decide to censor certain things. That's the problem.
I think there's a difference between what you say and how you say it.
Right, that's why we're encouraging them to,
Right.
Say again?
we're encouraging them to do it in a respectful manner.
Okey dokey.
All right. Any other comments, thoughts, questions?
Does number 8 make you feel any better? There are some
Yeah, right.
limitations.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, I knew we had something.
All right. Does someone, are we ready to make a motion to approve this?
Is that,
Well, that's
for some of them?
Is that a yes? Are you ready? All right. You want to make it, Carlos? Or Carrie? Anybody want to make a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to, let's see, to accept the revision of HPS Policy 3.7.5, Public Involvement, and act as appropriate, with the proposal by Liza that we make that change on sentence number 3 in the first paragraph, that includes the availability of school department, or school committee email addresses or accounts instead of one account.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? All right. Thank you all. All right. New policy. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, again, for your work on that. All right. That is it for unfinished business. For new business, item 7.1, to receive the East School Improvement Plan for 2019-2020 and an update on the 2018-2019 plan. Thank you, Principal Keady.
So I rely upon Paul to be,
Ready to move
my
to the next
projector
one?
man.
Yeah, you ready to move on?
I'm ready.
You ready? All right.
I'm ready. So welcome. Thank you for having me, and we'll start by, this is the group that we worked with this past year. Thanks to Carrie Nee, she was our school committee liaison, wonderful group to work with. And we're thankful that Diane Snyder is going to be coming back again this year as our community representative. She's been doing it for several years. Diane's a great member of the community, and we're welcoming three new members as well from the parents, as well as 2 new staff members in addition. So heading into the school year with a relatively new school council. But we had a great year last year. So, slide. So quick update on the goals from 18-19, our literacy goal and our math goal. Overall, we are seeing improvement when we track the cohort group. So when we track the improvement of our 3rd graders to 4th, 4th to 5th, in both of these areas, we are seeing growth. But like I said, with the MCAS, there are challenges when we use this data to help kind of drive instruction. We don't get to see all of the questions that are released. We only see about half of them. So when we see a particular response on a question, I'm not always sure what the question was asking, because the way a question is presented helps us a lot in figuring out what next steps we need to take. Also, what's helpful is when we see the answer that the majority of the students who may have got a particular question wrong, when we see the text of the question as well as the option for answers, it helps us figure out kind of where we need to think about making some amendments to our instructional programming. We also have to be mindful the test is administered several months ago, so it ends at the spring of last year. We start getting the results now, so we are now in the process of reviewing MCAS results from 2019, we have staff meetings with each individual, we have meetings with each individual grade level, as well as special ed, as well as other staff. So we're going to be moving forward. So for goals 3 and 4, we are working once again to improve all of this. We did go through a change in PTO leadership, so all of these initiatives under goal number 3 are moving forward this year. So Dawn Murray is our new president of our PTO, so I had a quick meeting with Dawn to kind of go over some of these options, and we're going to go forward with them. The PTO is having their first parent social coming up in November, and we're going to be continuing to work on that. And with regards to the homework, that was something I talked to the staff about last year. Once again, we were putting Toolbox in a lot of changes happening. We decided to kind of push this off to this year. So we'll be going forward with the homework review this year to try to make sure that the assignments that are going home are actually good instructional material. And then with number 4, once again, this is an issue this is a goal that we have every single year. We are continuing to implement Makerspace. We are we're putting the student ambassador greeter program into place this year, recruiting 5th graders to be out in front of the building to help greet the younger kids, help with the parent loop, just create a more welcoming environment for our kids. We are ongoing with the Hingham Public Schools tiered systems of support, the small groups that were based on some of the assessments we did at the end of last year are currently happening with our adjustment counselor. Our student council's up and running. They've already had 2 meetings. One of their big pushes this year is recycling. So they really would like us as a school community to reduce our single-use plastic, and they would actually like make a move to look at what's happening in the cafeteria. And last year, a group of kids were able to make the switch from plastic straws to paper straws. Now some of our student council will get rid of all straws. But they're going to make their effort. And the ongoing implementation of the student exercise and movement breaks before and during the school day is happening. Many of our teachers, virtually all of them, use GoNoodle. Our box program will be going back and running. That's our before school exercise program that is all run by our PTO volunteers. So we are off and running. Slide. Yep. So this is the stuff we look at when we try to put together our school improvement plan. We sit down with the school council. We go over our enrollment shifts. We did see a slight increase in our enrollment between the end of last year, the end of last school year, and the start of this school year. So we are seeing a slight incline up, which certainly we watch carefully as we think about future planning for staffing and materials. We will go over our MCAS data. I have all of the packets put together, and we look at summaries of our curriculum, how well we did with particular strands, areas of need, as well as other data. We do talk about the budget process. We do try to make sure that the school council understands kind of how we make our budget decisions. And we do listen to recommendations for how they would like to see the budget being used for each school. We do conduct every year parent and caregiver focus groups. We randomly invite in a number of parents and caregivers. We have a morning session, an evening session, to hear from them in an open-ended format about what they feel we can do better as a school community. We find the focus groups does provide for discussion, so we can ask follow-up questions, because the surveys we give sometimes can be just rather, it'll give you data on how your group may feel, but you don't have a chance to ask the follow-up questions as to why somebody may have responded in a specific way. And we do conduct student focus groups. So we invite, randomly we'll pick 5th graders. We have done 4th graders. We've done a number of different ways. But last year what we found is the 5th graders seem to give us sort of the best information. And they're very thoughtful about it. So often they'll come in with notes, because we'll give them some prompts to kind of get it going. And the kids really take it very seriously. And some of the suggestions they've given us, we've put into place. So a big chunk of sort of Makerspace was kind of an outcome of what we heard from our students. And we do collect staff feedback as well. So we try to gather as much information as possible about what's happening at East so we can put together a well-rounded plan. So on to this year's plan. Our plan pretty much always will include the academics. So with literacy, we are trying to once again continue to work on writing. I remember as a 4th grade teacher, 4th grade was the big year for the long essay. And now what we're seeing is writing is being spread out between all of the grades 3, 4, and 5. All have some writing component into the MCAS. And what we're seeing in regards to that is areas that we can do better. So we're going to continue to look at the curriculum materials we use, the instructional practice, scheduling. The other thing that we're looking at is we made the transition to computer-based testing 2 years ago. Are our students receiving the necessary skills to be able to take the assessment on the computer? We're looking at that with our computer specialist. So in all areas, same thing applies to math. Met today with our math specialist to talk about geometry specifically because she feels there are some areas of the everyday math curriculum that we can improve. So we're going to look at curriculum as well as instructional practice that we can kind of incorporate into classroom instruction. Next, please. We are adding science to our academic focus. So as we know with the issues with science is that students take it in 5th grade, but it's a cumulative test. So it's the science material that's been taught to them since kindergarten. So we want to think about the best ways for us to not only kind of making sure that our instructional practice is effective, but what is it that we can do throughout their experience to revisit previously taught material so that it doesn't all fall on 5th grade, do the review for everything. But overall, students do pretty well. We have phenomenal science department, so we feel like these are the areas that we can improve upon, and we'll be talking with the staff as we go out there at the year. And goal number 4, as we implement every year, is to strengthen the connections with family and community. Make sure I flip to the right page. So we are looking at working with the PTO to put into place a welcoming committee for the PTO. When we have new families come into town, these are PTO families they can connect with about community resources, sort of all of the bits of information you need to know when you settle into a new community. So our PTO is going to be helpful with that. We're also going to be providing toolbox training for all of our parents through the PTO. We had some really great questions from parents as Toolbox was being implemented last year. So I was lucky enough to be trained as one of the Toolbox trainers. So we're going to be providing this to the parents across the district, and certainly we're going to have it at East. They can be the guinea pigs. We'll start with them and make sure we can do it right. And as always, there is the Family and School Partnership Fundamentals. This is sort of a document that provides for you sort of some guiding questions in areas that you can use within your school to build your connection to the community. So one of the things we think about is as our population begins to shift, we want to think about, are we welcoming all families, aware of all of the cultural differences they bring to our school community so that we can kind of respond appropriately. Next. And on to the fun stuff. So we did start the school year off with Hello Week. It was a great week. I think a highlight for the kids was probably when we had the Hingham Police Department, Hingham Fire Department came, greeted the kids in the morning. That was a great way to start the day. That was fun. Next. We also will be doing Crew again. For those of you who may not know, Crew is a vertical team that we put together of students in grades K through 5, and they will stay together as that crew with the same adult staff person for the entirety of their time at East Elementary School. In each year we have a theme. So our first year was Everybody Matters, and we used Horton and Here's a Who as our foundational piece. Last year it was Heroes. In this year we're working on Kindness. It starts with a small wave, and you can make kindness happen. Becky Case did a great job putting together a play of the Lion and the Mouse, all about kindness. Those are our performers. It was done at all school meeting, and we are off to a great start with Crew. So every early release day is when the Crew meets. By the way, on the first Wednesday of the month is when the crews will come together. And Makerspace. So thankfully, our PTO has been very supportive of the Makerspace program. We like it for many reasons. It does help support some social emotional learning because it helps our students to build some resiliency. They're given problems to work through. There is no right or wrong answer when they do this. We try to create these opportunities for kids in grades K through 5. This year, we're expanding some of the technology options for our older students, for the 5th graders. So one of the things that we added, this is called a Whittle CNC machine. It's basically a desktop router, and our students will use a CAD program to design a project, something relatively simple. And then that machine will actually carve it out for them, much like a computer-aided design thing, but in a more simplistic way. We also feel like this is a great sort of support and add-on to our science program, because it really hits upon the engineering standards, because you have to figure out a problem, put it together, and see what the outcome is. Next. We are also adding hydraulics kit to the makerspace. This once again came out of the funding from the PTO. This is a reusable kit where once again students are presented with a challenge that requires them to use the materials to put together a hydraulic device. So for example, one of the challenges is, can you design a product or a device that will help lift a wheelchair from one platform up to another where there's stairs? And they're given all the materials to use this, to do it. What we like about it is there is not necessarily one way to do it. There are multiple ways to do it. So we really are encouraging students to try, experiment, give it a shot. If it doesn't work, try again. And that's the overarching message all throughout Makerspaces. Keep on trying until you get somewhere. You may not get to the end that you want, but there's learning to be had all along the way. So I personally love working with the Makerspace. It's one of the days that I'm in with kids, myself and Greg Bliss, the art teacher, and Jenny Cena, the technology teacher. The 3 of us work together to make the Makerspace happen. Next. And the PTO, we are very fortunate to have a very active and supportive PTO. We started the year off with the Back to School Bash. We have our annual 5th grade floor hockey tournament. Mrs. O'Hara's class won it this year. The kids had a lot of fun. We've had some phenomenal field trips to start the year. Our 4th graders went up to the Songus Industrial History Center in Lowell and came back with some great experiences and information about the industrial era here in Massachusetts. 3rd graders off to Plymouth Plantation as always, and Holly Hill Farm among many others. We're also looking forward to having Hobby Night coming up during our Scholastic Book Fair and a number of other PTO events throughout the year. So once again, it'll be a lot of fun. All set? And last but not least, the kids are most excited because we did add a fish tank in the main office. So that was put in. I have to confess, I put the fish tank in right at the end of summer, and then I went away. And then I got a phone call from Katie Hartman. And Katie says, we have a water problem. So my initial thought was, the fish tank leaks. And I said, I'm so sorry. And then she wanted to tell me what really happened. And then I'm like, thankfully, that's nothing compared to what we dealt with. So, and Dr. Austin was very helpful in making sure the east letters were just lined up just right. So that is our presentation. Any questions or comments?
That's great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, John.
All right.
Informative. Any questions, comments from anyone?
Sure.
So it was on homework, and I'm just curious, what does home-centered assignments look like? What does that
So,
mean?
making sure that they're a little bit more, so for example, our 2nd grade has been kind of incorporating a different approach to homework. It's not just the academic thing. So they may ask a child to do a chore. They may ask a family to do an activity together, play a game together. It's actually your homework. So incorporating more of those kind of things into the homework routine as opposed to simply completing an academic assignment to bring in, which has value and is important, but just trying to broaden it so that homework becomes sort of a family event and not just a task sometimes to be completed.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah, Liza?
I compliment you on the cruise and the makerspace, that those are ever evolving, and that you're
Yep.
sticking with them and making it more exciting for the kids, instead of jumping around from a different thing every year. I think that's really good to establish those identities with East, and that's great.
We are fortunate to have a very supportive PTO. The staff's been great. One thing I should add, what we use the makerspace time as well, is that it does allow the teachers, it's a 40-minute block, much like the specialist block, but they are encouraged to go visit a peer. So it allows a time for teachers to go visit each other. Because like I explained to our staff, there's some phenomenal things that happen in classrooms every day that I get to see because I get to see all of it, that classroom teachers may never get to see a peer in action because of time.
Yeah.
So we do use that time for peer visits. So it's
And
been
you
great.
get to see the kids in action too.
And I get
which
to see
is
the
really
kids. It's
great.
really kind of
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
An ongoing challenge we have is to find some good engaging activities for the younger students. But we did add some additional building materials, straw bees, and some other building pieces for our younger students, as well as we researched different ways to use Legos, because we have a lot.
That's not a bad problem.
It is not a bad problem. We are very lucky. Liza, you gave us some great
Oh,
materials
yeah.
to use with the kids. Parents have been donating stuff in addition to the fundraiser to purchase materials. And it is a blast. We have a lot of fun.
Tony, how are we doing in Kids in Action waiting list? We still have a waiting list?
I would have to refer to Jack.
No, the waiting list is over except for kindergarten, and pre-K still has a waiting list, but first through fifth grade, there's no waiting list.
Great. And in terms of the welcome committee, does any of the other elementary school have any program similar to that?
I'm sure, yeah.
Because I was going to suggest, as you're working with the PTO, perhaps this is something to be implemented through our town PTOs, where you can all sort of like now have one uniform committee, strong committee. So other than that, congrats, keep up with the great work.
Thank you. All right.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Or did we have to vote on his plan?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Liza. So we have to act as appropriate to, we've received the e-school improvement plan for 2019, and we need to approve it.
So I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
Thank
To
you,
approve
Liza.
the e-school improvement plan for 2019-2020 as presented.
Second? Libby?
A second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. That's it. All right, item 7.2, to receive the South School Improvement Plan for 2019-2020 and an update on the 2018-2019 plan progress, and to act as appropriate. Thank you, Principal Mary Eastwood.
We ready? I want to start by complimenting Tony Keaty, the principal of East. He did a fabulous job, and Lori and I were wildly wishing we could take notes. There were a lot of great ideas that we'd like to copy for sure. It was fantastic. Thank you. So South School, as you said a few minutes ago, and I really appreciated that, to create a culture is what you said to Tony. It's wonderful that they're doing that and they're carrying it on, and we firmly believe in that as well. You can add new things, but you don't want to just keep switching course. So we continue to prepare the child for the path, not the path for the child, and we involve the whole village. And I just want to give a huge thank you to the school committee, Hingham Public Schools Administration, and Dr. Austin, of course, for running my slideshow there tonight, and the South School staff, and there are many of them here tonight, and I greatly appreciate that. We have our teacher leader, Eugene Bazinski, in the front row. In the second row, we have Kim Kerr, who's our school psychologist. We have Kathy LeBlanc, a fifth grade teacher, and I'll hold Cece for last because I want to thank her for other things. Diane Aikenus in the back row, Leanne Turnak in the back row, fifth grade. Diane is a first grade. Leanne is a fifth grade teacher. We have Mara Yadzio, who's a second grade teacher. We have Melissa Hamrock, who's now a fifth grade teacher. And we have Dawn Marie Finaki, who's also a fifth grade teacher. So I thank you all very much for being here tonight. It's so nice to have you. And I want to give a big shout out to Cece, who helps with all the technology. And she and Laurie have been very helpful to me over the past couple of weeks, because there were some things going on in my family that made it so that I definitely needed some extra help, and I greatly appreciate the help. So I also want to thank the students and the families of South School, and of course the whole school community and our fantastic PTO. I think Tony would agree that and all the other principals would agree that we're so lucky to have such incredible parent support in Hingham. And I want to thank the school council members, who are probably on the next slide. So the school council members, obviously myself, Dawn Marie Finaki, who you met a couple of minutes ago, Vanessa Breyer, who is our new school adjustment counselor. And we are lucky, too, in that we have a community representative, Karen Johnson, who's in year one of, I think now it's her third term. So we're very fortunate to have her as our community rep. And we have Diana D. and Megan Pollins, who are our parent reps. And Libby Lewicki is our new school committee liaison. So that's great. And just very briefly, I'm going to do exactly what Tony did, talk about the plan progress from last year, the process rather, which I'll go through quickly because Tony did a nice job with it. We have a similar process. The School Council Improvement Plan progress in the last year, and then some plan updates, and we'll just quickly show how those connect to our 4 SMART goals, and just any ongoing themes that are still relevant, or maybe some new twists. So there's the process. Tony did just talk about it. The school council meets. We do all kinds of different things, and in the final, all year long, we talk about the budget, we talk about goals, we check our plan constantly. We also have parent focus groups and student focus groups, which we talk about, and then in the final 2 meetings, we do a self-assessment, and we analyze what we've accomplished and maybe what we want to change for the following year, and we start the process all over again in the beginning of the next year. So very similar to what they do at East, and again, very similar. We use the strategic plan for the district, parent surveys, focus group suggestions, staff surveys, and of course we analyze MCAS data, other assessments, DIBELS results, all kinds of things. We're so lucky because we have so many things coming at us that give us information, and we also include enrollment data there. And our enrollment has stayed pretty steady. It's been right around between 500, since I've been principal, I think between 500 and maybe up as high as 530, but we're usually right around that number. So, progress in 18-19, we're very happy that our TRI, or our target reading instruction, or program still continues to flourish, and we have that going in math and reading, and basically have an all-hands-on-deck philosophy, and are able to target students even better now because we also have the math tutoring, which was a new initiative last year, and we did a lot with that, and we had a really fantastic meeting in the spring where we met with all the grade level teachers and all the math tutors, and we talked about all the positives, which was mostly positives, and then areas for improvement and things we can do. So you'll see that we're working on that this year as well. We're continuing our instructional support team that many staff members are involved in. It meets twice a month, and all kinds of suggestions are given for students who are having difficulty, and it is very much a collaborative group, and it is spearheaded by Lawrence Acco and Kim Kerr, and we're very grateful to them. We also work very hard with encouraging differentiated instruction, learning styles awareness that constantly continues, and another thing that we're very proud of is the continued support of professional PLCs, professional collaboration through PLCs. All the teams meet constantly, and they don't necessarily have to be cookie cutter, but they talk big picture, and then they all break it down in their classrooms, and many heads are better than one. So that is ongoing and constantly encouraged. And there are many, many training areas. Tony did mention some of them. We still train in all of these areas to make sure. We just had teachers go out to empowering writers, and obviously differentiated instruction, toolbox. We have to keep training in these things that we believe in, that we want to keep going, and certainly not throw the baby out with the bathwater, because we always go looking for that baby, right? So we want to make sure that the baby's happy and that everybody knows about all these programs that have been very successful and can continue to be. So we also did that last year. I mentioned the math tutoring, and we were very pleased with our MCAS results. We had a overall rating of 31 out of 942 schools, and Lori and I did some highfalutin math the other day, and we figured out that that is in the top 96.7%. So we're very pleased, and actually, next slide, we're so grateful to this group, because this is the staff, everybody from the bus drivers to the custodians to the teachers to the paras. They're all the people who make it happen. So we're very grateful for that. And you can move to next slide. And of course, we like to keep up with hands-on learning as well, which is very difficult when you're also concentrating on MCAS and assessments, and going along with eSchool has a wonderful makerspace. We have lots of different hands-on learning that are done at each grade level, and we're just going to quickly go through some cute pictures. Here is the Kindergarten Alpha Fest. And, I should mention, this is Cheryl Edgar. Some of you might recognize her. She was a former principal of South School, I think right before you, right, Tony? Right. And she came in because Lori had a lovely baby girl last winter, and Cheryl came in a few days a week to help out, so I thought I'd give her a shout out. She did a fabulous job, and there she is helping at Alpha Fest, so that was great. We have our first grade musical every year, which is all about traveling around the world, so they're learning geography. At the same time, they're learning music and how to present. It's a wonderful time. If you're free on June, I think it's June 5th or 4th, you're more than welcome to come. And in second grade, we have a wonderful poetry festival. These are just examples at each grade level. They're constantly doing hands-on learning, but I kind of picked the top examples. And in third grade, they have a wonderful combination to their, invented by my partner here, when she was a third grade teacher. They have a wonderful combination to the Native unit. Then they call it the third grade powwow. They even speak some Native, and I know that came from my trusty assistant. For those of you that don't know her, I don't know if I introduced Lori earlier. And Lori worked on a reservation at one point as a teacher.
In South Dakota.
Yeah, so she brought a lot of her knowledge. So that's great. And in fourth grade, we have the China Trade culmination. That is very multisensory. We're grateful to our phys ed teacher, our music teacher, our art teacher, and of course the entire fourth grade team. They do a fabulous job with that every year. And in fifth grade, more China Trade. Sorry, the pictures were so cute, I couldn't resist. And the Booth Day, which is all Western Hemisphere, where fifth graders take on a province in Canada or a country in Central or South America, and they learn about it all year. So they constantly present at the grade level, and by the end of the year, they become experts, and they put it all together in this final wonderful thing, thank you, fifth grade team, that is called Booth Day. And there's just a few pictures of that. Just some examples of the hands-on learning. He looks so proud, doesn't he? So great. Okay, so in number 2, that's of course our opportunities to develop students' physical and emotional well-being and awareness of social responsibilities. And we are also doing the groups with the adjustment counselor based on the survey last spring. And we have an all-school meeting as well. It's called the Buzz Assembly, and that's a character building program I'm sure you already remember. And we give out buzz awards, and we have assemblies once a month. And our music teacher has added a lot of all-school songs that the children sing. So every year we try to add some new ones. There's a song called Teaching Peace. This year, for the Veterans Day Assembly, we're going to sing Thank You for the USA to the veterans. So we're very excited about that. And Lori is expanding our Kindness Rocks theme.
Yep, we're keeping the rocks, rocks alive. The kids want to continue that project every year, but it was a very big project, and so the rocks are just kind of hanging out there. But we recycle a lot of things, and we're going to recycle the rocks for next year. So they're going to be spray painted again, and we're going to do the project next year. So this year I just decided we'd do rocks on paper, and next year I guess or come visit South School. You can see the finished product on a bulletin board, but we're keeping our Kindness Rocks theme alive in all sorts of ways.
So we're rocking on.
Yeah.
Being kinder than necessary. So we also have lots and lots of books. We're grateful to our PTO as well. We have a toolbox library as well that we started last year. We have a kindness library that I know you know about, but I brought some toolbox books tonight. Time to Say Please, obviously the please and thank you tool, and also A Quiet Place. So I think a lot of us go to our nice quiet place at times. So those are still part, and they're part of our beehives, which are kind of like crew, to explain it, and they're vertical teaming as well. And in our beehives, all of these topics are taken up. We're very grateful to maintenance, and especially Katie Hartman and Doug Foley for the completed playground project, and to all of you for the money to do that. So that's great, and you'll see pictures of that in a minute. And we'll talk about Townwide Inclusion Week in a couple of minutes. And we're very, very grateful for the toolbox. I think it's the best thing since penicillin, and I kind of go back a lot of years, so I wish I had it that many years ago, and it's really, truly been a great success. So we want to keep that going. And you can go to the next slide. And I know you know your tools, but I thought I would put them up there for you.
Going on.
Uh-oh.
For whatever reason.
There we go. Those are your 12 tools, as I'm sure you've seen. I have a neighbor with 3 little boys that are about a year and a half apart. So she happened to stop over New Year's Day for a cup of tea, and I told her all about it, and she stole my manual and brought it home. So it's happening on Monroe Street in Pembroke as well. Okay, so, and they're the cutest little boys. They did come over one night in the summer, and I said, can they have ice cream? And the mother said yes, and one of the little boys said to my husband, we get crazy when we have ice cream. So they're absolutely adorable. So they're learning Toolbox as well. So we have a really, I hope you don't mind, but we have a really fantastic video that I have to compliment our new grade 3 teacher, Megan Wariski, and many, many people on the staff that you're just going to love. And it shows you what the children learned last year. It was our major in number 2 about Toolbox. Last Halloween, they dressed as construction workers, kindergarten team, with their toolboxes. Hit escape, yeah. Hit escape. Yeah.
Escape again.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, great. So as you can see, they learned quite a bit about Toolbox, and I'm so grateful to all the teachers and Megan Rescue who made that fantastic video. So we can just flip through some playground progress pictures. Thank you, Maintenance and Katie Hartman. And all the nice painting we have all over the playground, as well as the rainbow. Do you want to briefly talk about?
So we joined in with the rest of the schools in our district, and we spotlighted, did a spotlight of Kaleidoscope of Friends, which ties in nicely with our rainbow theme and our Kinder Than Necessary theme, and I'm sure as in all the schools, it tied in nicely with all of their themes. So we just did a few activities to highlight during that week, which you'll see in the next few slides. Our wonderful art teacher who made the kaleidoscope on our beautiful chalkboards. And then we just did some individual activities in classrooms, talking about how everyone is a gift, and we displayed them on all of our bulletin boards and chalkboards. We don't all have the talent of Siobhan, so we put activities up on our blackboards for the week, and there are a few more examples. So kindness and happiness are definitely traditions at South School, and that was another example of a classroom activity during that week.
And we've already talked a little bit about buzz assemblies, but we continue that tradition, and they're always a lot of fun, and we're grateful to our music teacher, Jessie Chung, and all the grade levels, because every grade level performs, and we've had some great buzz assemblies, so you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And this year's B is sitting in the back. The first B, it's kind of a rite of passage at South School. You get to be the B. They're always very excited about that. I think you were very excited, Melissa. It was very wonderful. And there she is. Yep. And I think Dr. Jamie's a little jealous right now because that's a costume he likes too, right? He wears. He's so good. He's such a good sport. He wears it to the spelling bee. Get it? All right. So as I mentioned earlier, we have the Toolbox Library and the Kindness books. So we have a lot of those, and we keep adding to that, and we use them in beehives. Just wanted to mention them. And of course, our mantra, which is, what does it mean to be kind? This book is fabulous. If you have anyone that's having young children, buy this book and give it to them. I know I've given it to your young children and given it to a lot of young children in my life too. So it is kind of like the book that every teacher uses. So all of these things we want to let parents and community know about them, that there are new supplemental activities, new things happening, and of course provide communication support and collaboration. And of course we keep up with our newsletter and our thing called Buzz Blast that we send things out to. I always say to the parents at Open House, I know you're dying on a Friday night to get those principal emails, so we keep that that up, and we keep trying to have the common language. You know, you got to remember that every year you get in so many new people. You have to explain about the parking, you have to explain about the pickup and the drop-off, and we do all of that. And we have added toolbox tidbits now. Ask your child, like this week it says, ask your child what the listening tool is. And one of the things we continue to use is the fast facts. It's the quick, kind of like, what do they call those in college? Monarch Notes version of the handbook. And we also do a new families reception tour, but I like your committee idea, Tony, big time. And the new student lunch and constant communication. And it's funny because when people complain that I'm over communicating, I think I'm at the right place, because you know, then people know that everything that's happening. We already mentioned the focus groups. Okay, you can go to the next one. And of course, when it comes to safety, and one thing I left out here was a great initiative by Lori, and it wasn't on purpose, but I'd already sent the slideshow, and I figured we'd just leave it. But Lori got speed bumps. Thank you, Katie Hartman and maintenance. And we now have speed bumps, which was super, super important, because we've seen people fly through our driveway, and we've also seen them fly through our driveway going the wrong way as well. So that was really scary to us. We did do a jigsaw with the new, thank you, John, the new red emergency folders, and Lori, books. And Lori has also done a wonderful emergency folder that has all kinds of things in it that the staff might need, just in case we were misplaced or whatever. And obviously we use our surveillance equipment quite a bit. Okay, so I'll just very quickly go through the plans for 1920. Obviously, we're going to do exactly what Tony mentioned and what you mentioned, Liza, earlier. We're going to continue all the successful initiatives and try to make them even better. Obviously, number 2, the math tutor initiative, and we want to further enhance and keep going with TMI and TRI. This year, we're putting a lot of emphasis on the new program, Reflex Math. Thank you very much. And the teachers are loving it, and the grade levels are loving it. And also, the continued support of PLC, so that they can meet, and Lori and I meet with them too when we have questions or whatever. And we encourage staff peer observations, although it's really hard to do. People love to do it, it's great, but people don't want to leave their own classes. That's how dedicated our entire, and Tony's shaking his head because we actually talked about that the other day. You know, people just don't want to leave their own classes, but we do encourage it, and as often as they want to, they can do peer observations. And we love that the mentoring program has now added that in as part of the. Thank you. I know, Dr. Jamie, that you were part of that as well, Dr. LaBilba. I'm sorry. I'm using your elementary name. And also to continue specific teacher trainings and professional development. And of course, we work hard at analyzing all data and looking at strands and things like that that we need to focus on more. And a big thing is to continue the awareness of learning styles and hands-on learning as well. So number 2, the big thing would be year 2 of Toolbox, because of course, you know, things really don't get established. I know Kathy LeBlanc always says 3 years. I'm a little bit of a slow learner. It takes me 5. But, you know, definitely want to keep that toolbox going. And we have new songs for the Buzz Assembly. And this year, Jessie Chung, our music teacher, came up with the idea that we make the kids perform all the time. Every grade level stands up and performs at a Buzz Assembly, and they sing. If you've ever been there, they all sing all together. They have a whole repertoire of songs. So Jessie thought it'd be a nice idea if we got some staff members together, and we had quite a few volunteer the first time, and I know everyone else is chomping at the bit now. And we'll just show you a tiny bit of this video because we have a video of it. I believe it's next. And Control, click the link. Okay. The bee even got involved.
The enthusiasm is just pouring out.
So I'm very appreciative to Jesse Chung and all the teachers who joined in, and they're knocking down our doors now for the next one. So, you know, when I watched that, I don't know if you did this, but I watched the kids, and they just were, Jesse's entirely right. We have to show them that we do some fun things like that too, you know, so it was great. So year 2, obviously, Toolbox. This is just the plan for Toolbox this year, making sure everybody's trained. And we thank you, Tony, if you want to offer to all parents, that would be great. I know you're a trainer now. And we just want school-wide reinforcement, the bulletin boards, the announcements, the songs, the murals, the books, etc. So those are what we have planned for the months. We always do Courage in November because we talk about it at the Veterans Day Assembly. Okay? And just, again, parental awareness. Toolbox tidbits are going to be continued. Office notes, taking into account what they've, questions that parents have asked us in surveys and things like that, and making little changes here and there, things like that. And of course, our wonderful PTO, which is just so amazing and does all kinds of things. So a lot of the things they do, it's right there. Curriculum, back to school nights, all those things. South School has Talent Night. We did on 5/7/18, and we did on 5/1/19, and then of course we'll be doing it again this year. And it's a nice way to kind of wrap up the year. And of course we still have Fly South Box, Homework Heroes. It's so hard because you want to name everything, and I know you all don't want to be here till midnight, but we're just grateful to everybody in the village because they're wonderful. And we've been very grateful for physical plant enhancements. Thank you, Mr. Ferris. I know you've been very involved in that. And the revised handbook, and we're going to further enhance the lockdown procedures. And of course, continue coordination with the safety officer. And Lori sets up all of the safety lessons. We already had electrical safety. Yes, so it's great. And you can see that this all goes with our SMART goals, so obviously to continue to support differentiated and tiered instruction, especially with the math intervention, and then facilitate and continue to facilitate the adoption of Toolbox. And then one other thing that I haven't mentioned is that we're really working on, and thanks again to maintenance, they've finished up, it's taken a long time, but all the walls have been repainted, because believe it or not, we're going to be 20 years old on Veterans Day weekend in the building that we're in. So we're going to celebrate that a little bit, and we have, thank you, Dr. Schreier, we have a wonderful little piece of history to hang. So we've got all that in the plan for Dr. Schreier and his wife. They did a nice job with that. And that's going to be coinciding with the Buzz Assembly in November. And we've got a lot of things that we want to get hung, and I know that our art teacher is also going to do some murals on those walls that have gotten freshly painted. She already has done a Toolbox mural, and I know Lori and she are planning a rock on. They've got a rock mural planned as well. So again, the promotion of a sound mind and a healthy body, very important, which I know we do at all our schools, which is great. And it does take a village to prepare the child for the path, that's for sure. And our South Village works hard to respect all learners while preparing them for the path. Thank you very much for listening, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Questions?
Anybody have any questions? Well, I would just like to say thank you and all the elementary school principals and Dr. Labilois and the Social Emotional Task Force for coming up with the whole Toolbox thing. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, schools already have enough of a burden of things to teach our children, so to take this on and tackle this was hugely important, and we can only hope that it continues as it happens at the younger grades, that it just keeps moving up as the kids move up into the older grades. I think kindness can be in short supply sometimes these days, so it's great that you guys are at the forefront of that and helping our students achieve all they can be and to be kind while doing it. So thank you.
Well, we were lucky, I failed to mention the HTSS initiative, which, you know, started all of this, and we're just so lucky. I know there's several people in the room that were on the committee, headed up by Dr. Labilois, so we've been really fortunate. And, you know, again, I've been teaching for a lot of years, and I've been handed many programs, but to me, for emotional, this is the be-all and end-all, and I really feel like parents should use it, everybody should use it. It's definitely, you know, it's just so kid-friendly, right? And just, I know Lori takes the Toolbox books home at night.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
To read to Dakota before he goes to sleep. Yep.
How are you finding the kids, the returning kids? And did they like remember everything? First,
we
like
have a lot of
beginning
teachers in the
school,
audience.
And so are they just rolling with it and like, yeah, we get it, don't.
A little review along
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
Well, having the common language, you know, so teaching from kindergarten all the way up
Right.
to 5th grade, it's just nice to know, like, there's a way to solve a problem.
Right.
There's a way to talk to a child, and you're not trying to recreate it every time a group comes in.
Mhm.
And we all share the same language, so it's helpful. Even when you see the bus drivers some of the bus drivers are wearing the, when they have a problem on the bus, they talk to a teacher, and we can use the same words. It's helpful.
It's wonderful. And I harken back to the day of Field Day, when you got on the loudspeaker and went over all the tools, and everybody was really grateful for that, because it kept bringing it to the forefront, which is fantastic. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so
everybody.
much. Thank you. All right, thank you. That is it for the 2 school council reports for this meeting. So moving on. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. I don't know why I keep forgetting that tonight. Thank you. All right. Can I have a motion for, thank you, Libby.
I will make a motion to approve the South School Improvement Plan for 2019-2020 as presented.
Carrie, thank you, and thank you, Libby. All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you. You are approved as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys need to go there.
Yes, thank you, all the teachers who came tonight. That was very great. Thank you. All right, moving on to some other new business for the committee. 7.3, to appoint a member of the Hingham School Committee to serve as our delegate at the annual Massachusetts Association of School Committee Conference being held November 6th through 9th of 2019. I believe Carlos would like to be nominated for.
I'll nominate Carlos.
All right, thank you, Libby.
Anyone else interested in going as a delegate?
I think a nomination is on the floor for Carlos De Silva for our delegate to the MASC conference. Second, or all in favor?
I'll second it.
And Liza will second. And any discussion? All in favor of Carlos being our delegate? Aye.
Thank you.
Great. All set. You are our delegate. Thank you so much,
Thank
Carlos,
you.
for taking that on.
Just a question. So
Yes.
at our next meeting, are we going to vote on the resolutions that
Yes.
he'll represent us
Yes.
for?
And you
Yep.
all have a copy of the resolutions? Take a look at it,
Yeah.
and whatever you think that we should be, endorsing. There's several items there that it is imperative.
In the past, just so for there were certain resolutions in the past that didn't really apply to our district.
Mhm.
And so the committee as a whole just decided we would not have the delegate cast a vote on that because we didn't want to take a position on it. I haven't looked at them all yet, so most of them we did, but there were I forget what it was about, but maybe it was homeless students or some significant issue that we fortunately don't have to.
Yeah, so right now
address
there's
all.
9 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
that. All right. And then new business item 7.4 is to establish a calendar and year-long agenda for workshop meetings and act as appropriate. So we had a great working session with Dorothy Presser from MASC a couple of weeks ago. And we had sort of talked about how sometimes it's helpful for this committee to have meetings that are more workshop-oriented versus business meetings like this, where we can literally sit in a square or a circle and have conversations and just sort of brainstorm ideas and sort of workshop some things. And initially, this meeting was actually, we were going to make this a workshop meeting, but then our fantastic assistant, Pam King, reminded us that we had some new business that needed to be attended to tonight, including some school council reports. So it is a wonderful idea to do some workshop-type meetings, but I think we just needed to talk it through a little bit more to think about a couple of things, because going through the calendar, I realized that almost nearly every meeting we have a special report that's scheduled and has already been put on the calendar. I think the meeting of December 16th is a meeting that's sort of open. There isn't a special report for that. Although I think we'd also potentially set that aside as not have that meeting if there was no new business that was coming up. And then I think there's maybe 1 or 2 others during the year. So, anyway, so what I wanted to do under this agenda item is just talk about how we'd like to establish that calendar for workshops and to set an agenda for those couple of meetings, so that if we decide we want to have 3 or 4 workshop-type meetings this year, when do we want to have them, and then what do we want to what topics do we want to tackle at those particular meetings. So, any thoughts on that? Thoughts are we could meet before our regularly scheduled meeting, right? So we might want to do we could say, and I don't know if this is, I think it would be all right to do, like we could say from 7 to 8, we're going to have a workshop and then go into open session and have our regular meeting, or we could decide to meet earlier. We could add meetings, which I'm not sure people want to do, but from time to time, we could just maybe add a meeting here and there throughout the year to workshop some things. Or I think we've already voted or we already set the calendar, so I don't really want to move things around on the calendar because people have this sort of people who are presenting to us already have that in their calendars for when they're going to report to us. So what are people's thoughts on this?
I'd rather figure out what are the subjects.
Yep, okay.
Because one thing we talked about was athletic fees and sort of other fees, and I would like to try and do that prior to the budget discussion so that it's not based on, it's more based on a policy as approach to it as opposed to needing to hit a certain financial number this year. And I realize, we haven't adjusted and maybe look at other fees and would such policy apply to other fees going forward. But I know athletics, we've been putting off for several years looking at that. So, that's one thing I thought of, and so then to me that's timing of advancing the budget. And then another thing is, are there issues that will come out of Paul's 100-day report that we would then want to delve into deeper? We won't know that until January, February, whenever that report comes out. And then we'll be in budget season, so, put it off till after that. And then we talked at policy about having a session on the superintendent evaluation.
Yep.
Sorry to take your thunder if you were going to
No, that's, I was sorry. I was
that,
thinking about that
maybe
one, too.
it's around the midpoint of the superintendent's evaluation cycle, so that, and after the MASC workshop, if people are going to the MASC workshop and can attend a session on how to do the evaluation and the new changes to that. And so that we all understand what we're supposed to be thinking about and how to do the evaluation this year. But to me, then, those are all a timing issue.
Yep.
So that's
good.
That's my thinking.
Yeah, no, I like that. I had also thought another topic was subcommittee makeup and what subcommittees we
Right,
would
which
like.
would probably, we need his
100-day
100-day to
yes.
see what some of the issues are which, I agree that that's something to look at.
Okay. Do other people have other thoughts of things that they think would be more
Well-
appropriate to a workshop session versus a business meeting?
Well, one thing is what we discussed earlier during the summer in terms of what it was, social media, right? With Massachusetts Association of School Committees, was that the topic you're going to try to get somebody to come in
Oh, yeah.
and
Yep.
address it? So we, that's one. Secondly, in terms of a workshop, is really reinforce the importance of having a workshop with, jointly with the advisory, selectmen, and the other entities. Now that it has been put out there, we need to really get that going
Yes. Yes.
before the budget.
Yeah. And I think we're doing that. That's part of the November 16th, 14th, 6th, whatever. Sorry, I always keep forgetting that date. That's Saturday.
Oh, they already scheduled?
Yes. I think everybody got a save the date email. It's the Saturday, sorry, my
November
calendar.
16th.
November 16th, thank you.
8:30 to 11:30.
Yes,
And what
thank
is
you.
that again?
Where is it?
What is?
That
what do we
is,
do?
it's a sort of, it may be if it, John and I are, and we're still figuring out exactly what form it will take, but it's, we're going to try to do like a budget walkthrough, not a budget walkthrough,
Okay.
a budget discussion, and then potentially we may include a tour of maybe Foster School.
So, and that's on November 16th?
November
I
16th.
didn't have anything in there,
Okay,
so.
8:30 to 11:30.
I think that all sounds good, and I do think when Paul's report comes out, that'll give us a lot of things. As far as the fees go, I would want to broaden that, though, to not just athletic fees, to look at all fees
Yeah, I agree.
together, and
Yep.
more like, because we're going to need a lot of data to do this,
Mhm.
so more just kind of what do we need, and what would the process be?
Yep.
And then we can move forward on that. So.
Okay, all right.
Now, Michelle,
I had that too, of not just athletics.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, yeah.
one thing that we did discuss at the last meeting that you're not present on the 7th is that we really need to start thinking about either we are going to have a meeting with the community to address foster once we're here from SBA, MSBA. So maybe we should be planning, I don't know, a community meeting to discuss the outcome, and then perhaps go over what next.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think we may have to bring the school building committee along with that. So, but we should start thinking about that. The community is going to start asking pretty soon.
All right. Any other topics? It's a lot, which is great.
I got very overwhelmed.
Huh?
Yeah.
Right, it's a lot, exactly. I feel like that's a common theme. It's a lot, there's a lot, there's a lot. But that's okay.
It's a lot.
We are up to the task. All right, so that's sort of 6 topics for workshops, and many, not that many meetings. So we have, all right, so if we wanted to, so if we want to do sort of a Paul's 100-day report debrief and sort of work on, think of subcommittee makeup and whatnot,
I mean, we could do.
these maybe go together in
And the
March.
superintendent evaluation.
And the evaluation.
Probably get them all
In one?
together in
Yeah, it's
one.
actually not a bad idea. So maybe that's
Because won't your 100-day report also cover some of your goals?
I was looking at that date of the 24th February as you have the budget vote that night. Can we do it that night as well?
Excuse me.
Yeah. I mean, because that's usually, at that point, we've gone through the budget with a fine-tooth comb, and that's sort of the formalized
Formalized
process.
one.
It's not typically a huge discussion, because we've discussed it.
Yeah, it's pretty
lot.
quick agenda
For that.
item.
So that'd be a good night to do that. I'll be ready for then.
Yeah. Okay. All right. February 24th. We'll target that. And what do folks think? It's a lot to tackle, so I'm thinking to only do it maybe an hour beforehand. While it would keep us on task, it might not be quite enough time. Do we want to follow up end the business meeting and then move into a workshop after the budget vote? Or would people prefer to?
So earlier you had mentioned that having the workshop first and then the business meeting,
Mhm.
but I was thinking it might make more sense to have the business meeting first and then the workshop, because for the community and anybody else who normally comes, they are used to coming at 7.
Yes.
And,
Mhm. Yeah.
hopefully we can take care of business, and then the workshop doesn't necessarily have to have a stop dead time.
Right. Yes. Agree. Yeah.
I mean, just for those days that we are having the workshop, could we come in a little earlier, 6:30? Liza, would that work for you? Just for those specific days?
If it's a handful, I can probably make it work, but.
Everybody else?
Yeah.
You know what I
But
mean? So
I-
that way we can
Ish,
start
but
the
it gets
workshop.
confusing. I
I
think it
agree
just gets a
with
little
Libby
bit
that-
confusing
yeah, it
for
gets
folks if they're
confusing,
used
yeah.
to 7.
Mhm.
But we can also play it by ear. A little bit as we get closer to the date, right? It may depend on, we may have, heaven forbid, we may have had several meetings that got postponed because of snow or something that we may not be able to, or we may need to start earlier just because we have a lot on the agenda because we've missed some meetings or whatnot.
Because the workshop is not going to be televised.
Correct. Really, yes.
So that's another reason to have it, the business meeting before the workshop, because then you can just,
Mhm.
close the meeting, 5 minutes,
Yep.
recess, and then
Mhm.
we start again.
Yeah. Mhm.
And if anyone wants to stay, they can.
Yeah, because they're still open
Yeah.
meetings, yes,
Exactly.
just not
Yeah,
televised.
televised, yeah.
All right, so
There
for
you go.
those, so the 100-day report, the superintendent evaluation and subcommittee discussion, we'll try to tackle all those on the February 21st, 4th at that meeting. And then fees, that's something to pre-budget conversation, which is going to have to happen pretty soon, because
Yeah, well,
that's,
yeah, but
And with that, you almost want to sort of like have a survey going out to all the, the different,
I think we need to figure out what we want, and then we can
Mhm.
throw out, in my opinion, then we can throw out a survey of what we want feedback on.
mhm.
yeah, because we
But
definitely need feedback.
I think we need to get it focused and what our thoughts are, and then get reactions to our thoughts.
Yes,
Rather than, because everybody's just gonna say, I don't wanna pay anything.
Mhm.
right.
What good does that do us?
Right. I agree with that. What about, is the December meeting, this December 16th, probably too late, right? There's just not that many, I mean, there's really only the 21st, the
Well, that-
4th of November, the 18th.
But what
This-
about December 2nd?
Yeah, December 2nd is the high school council
And
report
then-
and the SC.
then-
Perfect
and the-
timing.
TRE.
Perfect timing.
I don't know.
Should talk about that. But I was thinking, Michelle, for the 16th, because it's close to the 11th, would be the day to discuss Foster and, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I agree with you that we should be prepared to discuss Foster on the 16th, whether it's a workshop or not.
Mhm.
Right.
It's just,
Yes.
we're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
have
gonna
to
be-
come up with some kind of answer of where we wanna go with that. So
Right.
it's worth noting it on the calendar.
Yes, for sure. And I think Pam and I had already talked about that. So if I'm thinking of, so for the foster school, if you're thinking of a community meeting, then maybe that's just a separate
Separate.
meeting. Like, we do just have to have another, like we had last year, we had a.
And have it there as well.
Yeah,
You
and
know what
have
I
it at
mean?
the foster school.
Yeah.
So maybe community outreach can take that up as part of our planning. It's on our calendar, it's on our agendas anyway, to come up with a communication plan on that. So, all right, so maybe fees on at the December 2nd, we'll have a
Yep.
workshop.
That's what we got.
Okay. So
So
then.
when would be a good time to have a meeting at Foster for the community? Like, as soon after December 11th as possible?
Well,
So that we can get it done before the holidays, or do we wait until, I mean, it's gonna have to be like the following week, practically, right?
yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, we'll have our, sorry, Jamie, did you have a thought?
We have to wait to know first.
Right, well, that's
I
what
mean,
I'm thinking. So I think the
it's hard to
16th.
pre-plan
Right, because to
what-
meet before we get the decision, like, we're not really,
No,
there's, yeah.
that's not gonna do
Right.
any sense. But as soon after the 11th as we can?
Well, yeah, but we do have a meeting scheduled
The
for December 16th, so I think that will be the meeting that we'll have our
Discuss it
answer from.
publicly.
Yes, we'll have our answer from MSBA and then can discuss.
But then we're gonna have if I'm gonna set up a community meeting with Foster, I'm just trying to figure out like what time frame you guys are thinking about.
It really depends on what the answer is.
I know.
Right.
Of
Yeah.
what like the focus of the meeting and, you know,
So then I can't set anything up until after the 11th?
I wouldn't.
Well, we set it
Well,
up
should
either
you?
way.
mean,
I would think.
If the answer is yes, there's not going to be a need for a lot of meetings.
But if the answer is no,
But I think if the
I
answer is
could-
no, you'll need to go to the community with a plan.
Right,
Yeah.
Of what you're going to do about it.
right.
Right? I mean, they're not going to want to hear no just to hear no.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you need more
Right.
than that.
so
you
we're
wanna be
gonna need
thoughtful
some
of the
time.
Correct.
come
To
up with
develop a plan,
So how much
absolutely. Yes.
time are we gonna need to come up with a plan?
Well, January 20th is warrant closing. so
Right.
you-
Oh, I think we should also make sure we talk about it on November 16th.
At the November 16th
It'll be
meeting?
discussed.
Yeah, oh,
Get a
yes,
sense
absolutely.
of where everybody is.
Mm.
Right, yes.
So essentially, the date is the 11th, but we do know that we may know a couple of days before.
Right.
As soon as we know, the community knows, and it will be all over the discussion on social media. So,
Yeah, so I mean, and then so the decision comes out on December 11th. We have a meeting already scheduled for December 16th. I mean, it gets very close into the holidays, but maybe if we want to have another meeting that week, maybe that Thursday, maybe, that Wednesday or Thursday. I mean, it's right before the holiday break, but it's important, so we may need to just schedule something for that week to be held at the Foster School.
Okay.
But I think that's also,
You're looking at the 18th, 19th.
yes. If that gives us enough time. So I think that, I mean, we can just take that up at our community outreach subcommittee to work out some dates and some communication plans. All right, and then the last workshop idea then for this school committee session is the social media MASC presentation. So is that a springtime thing, or is it? Yeah.
Probably wait,
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so we can do that one. We'll figure that out for the springtime meeting. And then we'll have a new committee, potentially, that would be helpful for any potential new members. Okay, all right. That is very helpful. Any other comments or thoughts on that, on those workshops? It'll be a work in progress, but.
I think that's a great start.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right, that's it for 7.4. So number 8, other items not reasonably known 48 hours in advance of the meeting, which tonight is going to have to include all of our subcommittee updates because that was not on the agenda. So I will go in order down the table.
I attended the East PTO meeting. They had it at the Historical Society, and Tony covered everything that we covered. I'm going to my first school council meeting on Wednesday. And then I have nothing else.
Okay, great. Libby?
Okay, so community outreach helped Dr. Austin to put together his first 2 coffees with the superintendent. We had a daytime one scheduled on October 15th from 10:30 to 12, and an evening one on October 17th from 6 to 8, and they were very heavily attended and successful with some good conversations. The daytime one, there were about 30, 40 people, and we talked about everything from communications to security to exercise, social emotional support. Covered a lot of bases. On the evening was much more intimate. There were about 5 people plus some school committee members, and we talked about reading instruction and the culture in the Hingham and classroom temperature, and talked about the book Schools Can't Do It Alone by Jamie Vollmer, and really trying to develop a family-school connection and get everybody working together and on the same page. Families tell the schools what they need. Schools can tell the families what schools need for support. So it was really good. It was some good meaty conversation, and we're going to have more, and I highly recommend people come. And our next community outreach meeting is October 31st. So wear your costume. South School Council is this Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that. And Hingham Education Foundation has 2 big events coming up. The Spelling Bee, which is on November 3rd, and they're always looking for volunteers. So volunteer for November 3rd, because that's a fun day. And the Computer Science Immersion presentation at the MASC conference on November 6th that is going to give Hingham and put Hingham in the spotlight for its computer science immersion program that could not have been done without the money and fundraising from HEF and the efforts of Dr. Jamie Lavoie and Katie Roberts. That's it.
Great, thank you.
So I attended the Foster School Council meeting on October 16th, and so we'll hear from them next meeting, I believe it is. And then in the evening on October 16th, I attended the second master plan, town master plan meeting. So I'll give you all an update on where we are on that. The consultants right now are in the process of acquiring information about the town from many different departments. And tonight, actually, this is really under 48 hours, Ed and Ness and I all attended one of the core assessment meetings, which was about facilities and public services, and John Ferris also was there. And so it was a great meeting. There were members of the DPW, the electric plant, sewer operations, library, senior center, rec department, schools, library trustees, advisory committee members, a really wide variety of all this town services. And we all shared all the initiatives we had going on. And interestingly, many departments have their own master plans, but it was good to hear what other people were challenged with and what they were good at, and that they're really thinking about what's coming in the next 5 to 10 years. Fascinating to hear about, water company person was there too, and the water resources we have, and the sewer challenges we have, and traffic challenges, and how the library is bursting at the seams, servicing all members of our town. So it was a great meeting. Wish it had happened a couple years ago of everyone talking to one another. So the consultants met with other departments too. So that tonight was the last meeting on those core assessments. At our monthly meeting, we're now going into the next stage of scheduling visioning sessions to get input from the general public. So there are 2 public sessions that will be held November 20th and November 23rd. The 20th is Thursday evening, I believe it is, or Wednesday evening. Wednesday evening. And the 23rd is Saturday, and that's during the day. Snacks will be served at both. The meeting will be here in Town Hall. And what we will want people to come prepared to talk about are, what are your favorite things about Hingham? What are your least favorite things about Hingham? What is missing in Hingham? What are important issues to take into account when planning for Hingham's future? So it can be whatever you're interested in. And in addition to these bigger, general public sessions, the members of the town master plan are also going to be reaching out to other subgroups in town just to make sure that we reach people. So there's already a session planned at the senior center. There are people going to go to Linden Ponds. There are people going to do things neighborhood-based. I have also reached out. The committee really wants to hear from students. So I'm scheduling a meeting with the high school and the middle school to schedule a time for students to come after school and help answer these same questions to us. And Andy Hoy is going to be involved too, because this is civics at its best, and the students are being asked to participate in a town government activity as contributing just like anybody else in town. So hopefully we can make that work sometime in November around the time of the public sessions as well. So I encourage everyone to participate, and also if your neighborhood or your church or your club or team, whatever, wants to have somebody come and do a session, people from the master plan committee can do that as well. So let me know if anybody's interested. So that's where we are with the master plan. And then salary negotiations, we also have a meeting on October 31st, but we were just bringing candy, we weren't bringing costumes.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. Also, the Foster Fair, now it's no longer the Fall Fair, will be Saturday, October 26th. That's this Saturday from 11 to 3, rain or shine, at the school.
Thank you.
Didn't want to steal your thunder.
All right, thank you, Liza. Ed, do you have any?
Yes, today was our first meeting of the PRS Council. I met 2 new teacher reps and 1 of 2 new parent reps. Been a turnover. PRS continues to enjoy the victory lap of the 50-year anniversary with some very nice programs, and this is the start for STEAM Week at Foster. Earlier tonight, Dr. Austin mentioned the installation of the fence at East School. And I would just like to, again, thank the PTO at East for their help. They were instrumental with, in fact, they were responsible for helping us with the permitting, and that was the linchpin. So thank you to the East PTO.
Thank you.
Okay, so
You've got a
policy.
few things.
Yeah, a few. All right, so policy, in your packets, when we had the workshop with Dorothy Presser, we talked about some protocols and how the committee's going to work together. So policy took our first stab at that. So if you want to take a look and give us some feedback on it, that would be great. If anyone has any tonight, we would be happy to hear it. Otherwise, we could take it to the next. The way we did this is we looked at the MASC template as well as a bunch of other districts and how they work together, and just kind of tailored it and discussed what we thought was important and put it together.
Yeah. Thank you. This is excellent. Really, really well done. And I think it picks up a lot of the themes that we talked about in that workshop with Dorothy Presser, and some things we've been talking about as a committee and as an administrative team, that really sort of sets a roadmap for the committee. And I think it's helpful for everybody. So thank you very much for doing it. I didn't have anything specific. I mean, maybe a couple little wordsmithy things, but nothing.
I will note, we had a good time.
It was fun.
We were sitting with our Chromebooks, doing a Google Doc, editing together, so we were operating like the middle school kids do. And we're very collaborative, and we were all enjoying our edits and challenged to shorten the words, and we had a good time. So
Yeah, no,
we all enjoy editing.
Came across. It was very good.
Yeah, so that's good. So I don't know, do you want to take some time and approve this at the next meeting, or I don't know how
What do
everyone
folks
feels
wanna
about
do?
it?
Yeah, we should probably do the next meeting.
Okay. All right. We've gone through it.
Sounds good.
Ed, did you have anything? You look. Okay. Sorry. Thought you were going to say something.
We also, I have more.
Oh, yeah, no, yes, you do.
So we also discussed with the collective bargaining that's going to be coming up this year, we're going to take a look at our policies as they are right now, and cross-reference them with the MASC policy manual, just mainly the ones regarding personnel, because we have to start somewhere, and this seemed like it would be a good place to do it. So we divided up the sections that are relevant, and we'll talk about them at the next policy meeting, which is going to be October 30th at 10 a.m. I can do the CPAC meeting too, if you want.
That would, yes, thank you.
So Dr. Austin came and spoke to the CPAC meeting. We had a nice group there. A lot of the parents, I think, had gone to the Tuesday morning one, so there were a lot of CPAC parents there. So, but it was really helpful for people to give their feedback and to hear what the focus is of the district. CPAC is putting out a parent and guardian survey. I think it's still active right now, but as of now, they're looking for topics that parents want education on, and the 3 most popular right now are anxiety, how to make friends, and ADHD. And we noted that a lot of those are kind of related too. But the survey is going to stay out there, and so people can contribute, and it's on their Facebook page, and I think it's on the website as well. There is an assistive technology presentation tomorrow night at the Distance Learning Center at the middle school. And it's interactive, so people are encouraged to bring their own devices, and if your child has a Google login for Hingham Public Schools, to bring that. There's a lot of really great technology that people can use to access. So there's that, and then the next CPAC meeting will be on November 20th, and it's going to be a short meeting and then followed by a social. So they're going to find a place to just go and meet up in a more informal setting, so that was good. For Hingham Middle School, the school council met today, and they're working on we're going to be working on 2 surveys this year. One is for 6th grade parents on the topic of transition from 5th to 6th grade, and another is going to be an all-school survey for Hingham Middle School parents. And their next meeting will be on, or our next meeting will be on November 18th. I went to the PTO meeting for the middle school on last Thursday. And there was a big, it was mainly 6th grade parents, so transition was a big topic there. The 2 big takeaways for that is more parent training on how to use Aspen and Google Classroom would be really helpful. And we talked about the best time to do that. Like, parents felt like it would be helpful to know it before school started, so we talked about either doing it in the spring or maybe in late August, or finding a place like that, so parents can kind of help their kids and hit the ground running and find information. And then a lot of parents brought up the fact that it'd be helpful to have a single platform for communication and websites. So we discussed that a little bit too. The PTO has a new website, and it's great because it's aligned with the Hingham High School site. So once you figure out how to use this, you can just slide right into high school, and you can pay your PTO dues on there. So that's good. The 6th grade had a harvest happening last Friday right after school. 7th grade has a Night of Scares Halloween dance on the 25th from 7 to 8:30, and the 8th grade had the bonfire also last Friday from 7 to 8:30. And then finally, for SNAP, this is Special Needs Athletic Partnership, they have a Wahlburgers event on Wednesday, November 13th, from 5:30 to 9 at the Shipyard. So people are invited. Should be a fun night. They're going to be doing a Fall Family Fun Day at the South Shore Sports Center. That's open to all families and kids, just not particularly to ones with disabilities. Little bouncy houses, face painting. That's also a lot of fun. And then the winter programs coming up are going to be yoga, Zumba, swimming, and basketball.
Thank you very much.
Actually, on Snap, I saw that today was the first integrated team basketball game at the high school with Weymouth. I saw on the big red Unified Sports.
Oh, that's
the
great.
first time they've had a basketball game. Yeah, they're playing Weymouth.
Oh, that's
I
great.
don't know how they made out, but I do. I've left my phone in the car, but I do have the app, so we can find out.
That's awesome. Do you have any long-range planning?
No long-range planning. We already reported on the high school council meeting. We didn't have another one after that. But one thing I wanted to say, and because we are under 48 hours too, it came to my attention that for the fair at Foster, they put some signs in the neighborhood, and those signs were taken by the Department of Public Works. PTO representatives were very upset about it. They contacted town and everything. Perhaps it's not, something that it can be done legally and leaving signs all over the place. So that was the thing. But with that, I think what we want to think about it is on our schools have a location where it's safe for other schools to post their events. And because, the point is that they want people out there to find out about, what's taking place in their schools, especially the fair as a fundraiser. I think we ought to think about, as a matter of policy, whether we set up a safe area within our schools where we can put signs that DPW will not be removing them. So, food for thought.
Do they know where they put the signs that were removed? Because
They actually disposed of them.
But where did they put them?
Yeah.
Like, where were they that they took down?
yeah.
So I don't know. I don't have all the details of exactly where they were put in, but
Because typically on the school properties, you can put signs.
this was all over the residence areas, I guess. Yeah, but I couldn't.
Yeah, because
couldn't
if they,
speak to it.
they should abide by the same rules that, like, for the political campaigns, that it has to be on someone's property and, how many, 20 feet back from the street?
No, it's not 20.
Or
Like 20, but there is a setback.
you have to be because on the street, the town owns the first,
Yeah.
10 feet or on your property.
7.
So the sign has to be beyond that.
Yeah, I don't have all the details, but, with that, I say, you know what?
I
in
agree
terms
with you.
of
I think that's a
solution,
great idea to put
Yep.
the
no
signs of the
promises.
other schools on the other school
School's property,
properties.
yeah. That's
I
a
think
great idea.
that's wonderful.
Mhm.
But we should also make sure that
People understand.
everybody's abiding by, if there are town regulations, that they're abiding by them.
Mhm.
And usually they don't throw those signs away.
Yeah, unfortunately,
at the-
according to them, they did.
Oh,
Yeah.
because they usually, like with political signs, they store them so you can go retrieve them if you want. But
They've done it, I've known them to have thrown away other signs as well, that are on town property. Yes.
those signs, they don't say foster fair. They just say fair. So they may not have known that it was a school function. If you look at the picture.
I thought it did say Foster. Anyhow.
All right.
I looked at it, and so maybe they just didn't even know that
That it was
maybe
that.
they thought it was a commercial sign,
Oh, true.
too.
All right, so I have a couple updates. And Carrie, I'm sorry, did you by chance give the special ed update at the last school? Okay, you did, thank you. So, all right, so our next meeting for special ed is November 14th. Metco is having a Thanksgiving potluck event that is so Metco is trying to, our Metco director is trying to establish more events outside the schools for the Hingham community and the Boston community parents to get together and have events. So the upcoming event is November 14th. It is a Thanksgiving potluck. It is in Dorchester at the Teen Center. If anyone's interested in attending, I think everyone in this room probably already received an invitation, but if not, I will make sure one gets to you. But that should be a great event between Boston and Hingham families to keep those lines of communication open. I attended the All-Town PTO that Dr. Austin is keeping that tradition alive from Dr. Gallo. So it was a great meeting. As always, our PTOs are so engaged and so great with their fundraising efforts, and they were all talking about this year focusing on parent engagement and giving back to the schools and all the monies that they're raising and the great things that they have planned for the year. And then they get updates from Dr. Austin on things going on at the school, but it's really more for Dr. Austin to hear what's happening from a parent perspective at the school levels. There was a lot of talk about communication, common platforms, a lot of information sharing, so it was great. Those are always great meetings. And I think that is it for me. So if there are no other items, I would take a motion to adjourn.
I shall move.
Thank you, Ed. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.